connections, we make connections to fill a void, to fill something that we can't feel for ourselves because we don't know ourselves enough to give that to ourselves. So connection is more to fill something up. Whereas here, or if you take enough time to be with yourself and to make the connection to yourself, you don't need to fill that void anymore.
It scares some people because it feels safe to be needed.
Right, exactly.
It feels so safe to be needed, and if you don't need me, you can go anytime.
It's also an ego thing, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because like ego plays a big role in that one. So if I'm needed, then it feels good for me, right? It feels like I have a purpose, and we're all looking for a purpose.
Yeah.
On Stories of Self, we go on journeys into the lives of ourselves and others. We see how stories connect, how they diverge, and how we can create our worlds and solve our problems. This is the real-life remix of storytelling, which is so often stranger than fiction. So come and sit around the fire, chill by the ocean, or get a coffee with me, as I delve into the stories of self that make, break, and remake us. Some stories are dramatic, some are serene, some will magically mirror you, and some will be delightfully different. I'm your host, Katie Reeve-Arnold, and this is Stories of Self. Hey everybody, so we're here today with Janica, who has her new website, The Alchemist Muse, which is absolutely beautiful. Everyone should check it out. And we've got Christina, who is a podcaster and author from Germany. And we're here today, we're going to chat to you on Stories of Self a little bit about connections, dating connections, friendship connections, and about how that is in making new ones and keeping up old ones and how those evolve moving forward. So hi guys, it's great to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome. So what do you think about this kind of connecting in the world today? Do you think, because we've got the dating apps, we've got organic connecting with people out in the supermarket or the street or something, which is often seen as more romantic, but you know, what is it about today's mechanisms of connection? Do you favor one or the other, or are you just open to them?
Well, for me, I would say, I think in this era that we're in right now, people are craving more connection, but on the other hand, we're more disconnected through the phones and through being online constantly, hanging on social media and being on like very much for ourselves, but still being connected. So the real connection is something that we crave, but have a more difficult time actually pursuing that.
Definitely. So we've got more superficial connections that we're making. Maybe that I feel that sometimes, you know, when you meet people and you feel like you're asking and answering the same questions over and over again. Sometimes I ask like random questions like, what's your favorite fruit?
But this is good because we always hear the same question. Where are you from?
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For me, it's very interesting because I noticed something the last couple of months. I had a period in my life I was really active on Instagram, and it was really easy to connect with people on the Facebook groups or wherever. So it was super easy to connect online. And the longer I'm staying here, the more I get connected to my own emotions. And the longer I stay here, I feel more. I'm more sensitive. And now I cannot do the online thing anymore because I know like, no, I have to feel you. You don't have to say something. I don't want to know what you want to say or who you are. I just need to feel you. And when I cannot feel you, I'm completely, it feels like blind.
So you want to connect with someone more than just the things that they want to say about themselves. You want to actually...
It's more like a sense, a new sense that I received, or maybe before that it was kind of numb. I don't know. But without using that sense, I'm numb. I don't know who you are. But if I can feel you, I know I can feel who you are. And then through the feelings, I know if I like you or not. and then I'm open for conversations, and then I would like to know what's going on here in the
That's
upstairs
super
box.
interesting. That makes me think of, the metaverse that apparently we're all going to be living in the future. I'm a bit doubtful. We might be using it, but I doubt that I'll be living in it. Famous last words, right? But the metaverse, that idea of actually having an avatar online that you interact with people through in these virtual environments, then you would not be able to feel that connection you're talking about, right? You would
that's
not,
true.
Yeah.
I think for me it would be just a fun thing. I wouldn't take that serious. So it's like, oh yeah, I can try things, but it's more like a computer game. But for real connections, I need to feel the person. Yeah. But this is something I learned here, or something that
here in Bali.
Yeah, here in Bali, or something that came up here in Bali.
Yeah, something that I realized as well, or what I recognized in myself as well. The more I learn to understand myself, the more I'm very selective with connections. And I feel, especially when I lived in Germany during the time, I feel like we make connections to fill a void, to fill something that we can't feel for ourselves, because we don't know ourselves enough to give that to ourselves. So connection is more to fill something up. Whereas here, or if you take enough time to be with yourself and to make the connection to yourself, you don't need to fill that void anymore. So it doesn't really, the connection in that way is not something that you need, but rather an add-on to something that's already existing.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So it's less utilitarian.
Yeah.
Like you're not really having somebody kind of fill a use in your life, rather, which is beautiful, right? Because none of us really want to be used, do we?
Yeah.
So, but I can understand what you're saying, is that we might be doing it kind of subconsciously. We're not intending to do it.
For sure.
But then once we've filled that void within ourselves, or we can support ourselves that way, then we look to connect for a different reason, to connect for the truth of who someone else is.
And I think this is the abundance of the time we're living right now, because I think in the past, we needed to check, okay, with you I can survive, with you I can learn this and that, so with you will help me to do something. But I think this is the abundance of the time that we have to be fulfilled within. So as you said, like, we don't need other people, and if I don't need you for nothing, then everything you bring into the room is on top. It's like better. And this scares some people, because it feels safe to be needed.
Right, exactly.
It feels so safe to be needed, and if you don't need me, you can go anytime.
It's also an ego thing, right?
Yes,
Because like ego plays a big role in that one. So if I'm needed, then it feels good for me, right? It feels like I have a purpose. And we're all looking for a purpose.
Self-validation, you're getting external validation of yourself. But then I guess when you're saying that when you come to a wholeness within yourself, you're self-validating, so you don't need that external validation. It's always nice when we get it, right? It's always nice when somebody validates us, but we don't need it. It's not like oxygen for us. It's more like an added extra. It's a cherry on the top rather than the whole cake.
Yeah, and then the connections have a different meaning as well. It's like you're coming from a different place. You don't want anything from the person. You don't need anything. So it's basically just enjoying and being grateful for the time that you get to spend together, and eventually learn something on top of it. But it's not that extra filling a void or making somebody do that or to this to fill up your own cup of what makes you feel good.
And honestly, I think just when we have this in our life, we are able to have true love in our life. Because what I experienced in the past, I thought being needed is love. And when a person needs me, or I need the person, this is love, this is a loving connection. But here, I experienced that this is exactly the opposite. If you don't need me for nothing, and you still stay because of me, and this is love.
I hear you. I did that as well in the past. I kind of tried to combine the two. I didn't realize I was doing it, but I was loving people, and I was loving someone, but I was also
desperately clinging and needing and wanting them to essentially save me, but I didn't know. So that's that kind of thing that you're saying about filling a void. I had this yawning chasm that I was asking for in a non-sexual way, that I was asking them to fill, and it just, it was never going to be enough what I was asking them for. And it was really, challenging, because there was a lot of love there as well, but it's also, it's not who I didn't want to be that person who was just like grasping and using and dragging out from people. But there wasn't anything I could do until I took the time, and I guess I didn't take the time, let's be honest with that one. I was provided with the time by external changes that were beyond my control. And so then I was provided with the time and then chose to take it as well and make it for myself to actually move forwards through that. And I'm so glad I did, but I really feel for people who are stuck in a cycle with that kind of stuff, and maybe they don't have a clear opening or break in the cycle to get that time.
No exercises they can do to break the cycle, because just being aware, like, oh fuck, I'm needy, and then
or even
you're aware of the problem, but you're still stuck with the problem, like, fuck.
But it's really
I'm not a nice person right now.
It's not going right.
How to get out of there of this?
But it's really challenging, because it requires for you to understand yourself first of all, and to be by yourself. And I have one friend, she has never been alone in her life. Like, if one relationship ends, it takes like 2-3 weeks, not even a month, until she has a new relationship. Because it's something that, it's almost like an addiction that you can't get enough of. And being by herself would require for her to kind of go deeper within herself and understand. And it's really scary for a lot of people.
I think for many people, they're not really used to be alone. And they're scared of their own thoughts and feelings. So they're always looking for distraction outside, so they don't have to feel themselves.
That's why we go party, why we drink. Like, it's especially, I feel it's difficult in big cities, like for people that live a corporate life, because it's so demanding that on the end of the weekend you just want to, kind of relax your head and get out of it. So there's no real time for this integration and for these to have these thoughts. And especially for those people, I think it would be really important to go on a silent retreat, for example, or do a vipassana or something.
I think they will freak out from 100 to 0.
Oh yeah, for sure. But they would come out as a different person.
Did you see what people? So there's been people kind of showing. I mean, they're a lot younger than me, but hey, they've been showing some stuff on social media. I think it's what they're calling like raw dogging, which is going on to a flight without any kind of entertainment. Like, they don't use the entertainment on the flight. They don't bring earphones. They they can't use their phone. They don't bring a laptop. They don't bring a book. And people have been kind of going on social media and kind of filming themselves doing this, and filming themselves freaking out doing this, because it is challenging. I mean, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, one way to take yourself out of everything, but it's extreme to enter that kind of environment. Maybe they feel, actually, because you were talking about vipassana, which would be there would be a supported retreat, right? So maybe they're looking for, by doing this on a plane, they're kind of thinking to themselves, I'd be okay, it's only so many hours, and there's all these people around me. So if I have a problem, I can actually, I can change. So maybe they're feeling the support from that, but it's probably much better for them to do something that's supported that way, rather than maybe putting this onto the staff.
Slow steps, like just sitting down for 5 minutes and staring at the clouds, small steps.
Or just have a meal without being on your phone. Like, if I go to the restaurant and people sit alone on their table, they don't just eat. They eat with their phone in their hand and scroll.
It's crazy,
And it's almost impossible for some people to just be present. Just like taste your food, be there, like, just like see everything around you, just take the time. Like with like a day without phone is almost impossible for a lot of people.
It's crazy and so sad at the same time, because when after a couple of years of doing meditation, I figured out like when I close my eyes or I'm just sitting on the bed, it's like inside cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you learn to watch your thoughts and your emotion. You're like, interesting what's coming on here. And this is what you really want. And we're afraid of this. I didn't notice during the day. Like, it's really funny to watch yourself and to just sit there and feel what's coming up. Like, oh yeah. Now I know.
And be with it. Yeah, definitely. Because we do have a lot of techniques for avoidance and numbing to what's going on in our lives.
I think the whole society is about how you can numb yourself to be a better worker.
And also the whole, there's a numbing industry going on now, right? An avoidance industry.
Huge.
And we're all writers in some way, shape or form, right? And so actually a lot of writing has now been tailored towards, whether it's via movies, whether it's via television, via radio, podcasts, whether it's via books and things, but it's being tailored towards this kind of escapism, which is a part of avoidance and numbing.
But honestly, this is one of my biggest pains because I love movies.
Me too. Yeah,
I love movies, I love series, I love books, I love to escape. So and when I was younger, my biggest dream was to become an actor, always. And something happened, so in my life, I had some problems with my body, with my health, so I could never be this actor. But I'm still looking for the movie industry because part of me is like, yeah, but I want to be an actor. And then I started to write things. And at a certain point, I understood like, fuck, when I'm writing, when I'm creating movies, even when I work on Instagram, I just help people, I'm just helping this kind of numbing industry to people escaping from life and from the reality. And this was kind of a moment in my life I was like, fuck, I don't want to support this kind of numb industry, but I love to write and I love movies, so what can we do then?
But I mean, storytelling, not all storytelling is necessarily a negative form of avoidance and numbing. Storytelling it comes from that capacity to learn from each other, right? Yeah. So people coming back from however they've spent their day and they're telling their story around the fire or they're telling it to their family. So their family can learn, this happened and then I did this and this kind of thing. And they've made it through in what they did. Or they can say, oh, then I did this and I should have climbed that tree or I should have done this. And so everybody's learning from it and then everyone's engaged.
This is good that you're saying that. Now I understand why I'm always ending up looking at this boring, creepy movies and not Netflix anymore. Because this kind of movies are exactly what you explained.
Different kinds of films. So films you can learn from or books you can learn from. But I mean, also we do need sometimes to give ourselves a break. I think psychologically it's very clear to me that I will, if I'm having a hard time or if something's come up for me, I will often put on an episode of a series that I have watched over and over and over. I know how it starts, I know the middle, I know the end.
It's comforting, right?
It's escaping in the reality because you love that world.
It brings you down as well, and you're safe in it. So it's a mechanism of safety but it's one thing to allow yourself that safety for 20 minutes. It's another thing to watch all 10 seasons, each of them having 24 episodes of that show, so that's a large scale numbing and avoidance.
But this is super interesting what you said about the part of being safe there. So it's the main reason why we are escaping and trying to numb ourselves because we're not feeling safe. We maybe not feel safe with our own emotions.
Challenged.
Totally, it's challenging. And we need something, in my opinion, to have a safe container, as you say, like a coping mechanisms. We all have them. But it's all about the balance, right? And like everything in life. Like if you see a cake, you can have a piece of cake, but it doesn't mean that you need to eat the whole cake immediately.
Balance.
So
the size makes the poison.
Yeah, and I think it's learning for all of us to kind of finding the balance.
And that's the balance in what we write as well and what we create, right? The balance between that escapism and also something that can help people expand.
Yeah,
because
like
writing can be both. Movies can be both. The
and even dating, if we go back to talking about like connections, it's that as well. But if it becomes something obsessive, then it's time to look into that. But otherwise, connection is a great thing. So, but it's like ask yourself, why you're having this connection, why you want it, and are you also able to be alone? So to keep the healthy balance and to check in with yourself rather than
able
just,
to be alone is a really interesting phrase, isn't it? Because if you're not able to be alone, then you're not really choosing to make a connection with somebody.
Then it's an addiction,
you're falling into it, or you are hurling yourself into it. Maybe you're clinging to it.
Yeah, you need the person.
None of those things are things that we actually want, right? We don't want to be somebody who's like flinging ourselves at people or clinging to people or having people fling or cling to us. But it's like those things can sometimes be romanticized as well in the more escapist kind of writing.
Totally, and I think it's also a little bit of fear involved. Like if we look at relationships that have been going on for a very long time where both partners are really unhappy and still stay together, it's because usually not because they want to make it work, but because they're really afraid of what's going to happen afterwards. Can I find another partner? Ooh, I've been so long with this person, I wouldn't even know what to do on my own. Because somehow it's the comfort that we were talking about before. That it feels safe to be in this environment, even though it might not be safe, because this is what we know. So the brain will always go back to what it knows, even if it's an unhealthy thing that we are going back to, because
we survived it, right?
That's
So we know it. So we know we survived it once. It can be negative. It can be bad for us. It can be not what we want, but we survived it. So it's got to be better than these things we don't know. Not necessarily, but it's going back there to that.
And it's the unknown that is scary usually for us. So.
And also there's a sadness as well. There's a bittersweet nostalgia, I think, that we want. When something is so beautiful and so good, we obviously want it to continue, but that's kind of that's an attachment. So the thing is that in a non-attachment, we recognize that it would change all the time. Every single second, we are all changing. Whether we choose to or not, we are. And we know that because clearly we're aging and clearly things are moving and changing within us. So we have to be able to then potentially get to a space where we can let things go so that new things can come in. Otherwise, we kind of stagnate. And that's what you're describing, is this idea that maybe if people have spent so long together, they're almost in this kind of stagnant kind of space. And sometimes, I suppose, if they shook up that stagnant space they're in, they might find a resurgence and a regeneration of their own interest and feelings. Sometimes it might be time to let go, but that ability and capacity to move forwards, either which way, is really with love, you know. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let somebody go.
Let them free.
And choose yourself as well.
Really, really important. It's been so good to have you guys here today. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I'd love to have you back again sometime and we can chat some more.
Thank you
so much. Yeah.
Thank you. It's been amazing.
We are all telling our stories. And we are all telling ourselves stories about it all. Are you brave enough to walk with me into hearing, considering and understanding the stories we tell? Join me next time, where we'll be considering more stories and illusions and stepping into creating the freedom we desire. Every moment, we are who we are choosing to be. You choose. Choose you, because your story matters.